Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the what's next on junior welterweight contender at 140 pounds, Gary Antuanne Russell, the undefeated contender, as he continues his rise in the 140 pound division following a dominant first round knockout victory of Kenneth Cruz on, I think the guy's name was Kent Cruz, when they fought on April 12th on a Showtime card. Now, before we get into that, if you guys could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I try to build my channel up here. So, back to Gary Antuanne Russell. You know, it was over a year off in between fights. He made his return and came back and made it quick, got a dominant win over Cruz. So, haven't really heard much. We know Russell is kind of an avoided guy because of his style and, you know, his style and power and all that kind of stuff. He's going to be an avoided guy. He fights for the PBC. But we're going to run through the top 10 and see what possible options could be there for Russell as he moves forward in 2023. So we start with Teofimo Lopez. Not likely to happen. He's a WBO champion. It looks like he's positioning himself for either Arnold Barboza or Jose Ramirez, possibly next. And then after that, you know, he's probably looking for a big time fight. You know, Devin Haney, somebody on that level. But he's also with Top Rank, where Russell's with the PBC. And I don't think Russell's a big enough name yet for Teo. Next, Josh Taylor, the former undisputed champ at 140. Taylor is really flirting with moving up to 147. You know, I just read something the other day that he's really considering that, making that move. It's likely going to happen. But, you know, we'll still see. But he's also still has ties with Top Rank, where Russell is with the PBC. So I'm really not seeing this one coming to fruition. And Russell's a big threat to him coming off of a loss. Big threat to Taylor. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Then you got WBC champion Regis Prograis. Now, that could always be an option because Russell's so highly rated by the WBC. He's number 2 right now. But I think Prograis is going to stay away from a fight like this unless it's a mandatory fight. Plus, Prograis looks like he's got Devin Haney lined up next, so he's focused on bigger deals. But, again, unless it's a mandatory fight and it gets ordered, I don't think Prograis is going to want to really go there right now. Plus, it's DAZN and Matchroom working with the PBC and Showtime. Next is Jose Ramirez, the former unified champion. Not likely. Top Rank working with the PBC here. Ramirez is highly rated in the WBO. I think he's got a pretty good ranking in the WBC too. But I don't see these two guys coming together unless the fight was ordered. And right now, Ramirez looks like he's right on the verge of getting Teofimo Lopez, or at the very least getting a final eliminator with Arnold Barboza Jr. that sets up the Lopez fight. So I don't think Ramirez and Top Rank would be interested in this. Next is Jack Catterall. Jack Catterall is really positioning himself to try to get an eventual title shot. It looked like he was in line for Regis Prograis, but that fight fell through because it looks like Devin Haney's going to get the crack at Prograis next. So Catterall has signed on for a showdown with former 3-division champ Jorge Linares in October. Russell is a threat. It's also PBC and Matchroom. PBC and Matchroom trying to work together, and I don't think they come together for this fight. Then you got Sandor Martin. I think this fight's very possible. Sandor Martin's ranked number 1 in the WBC, and Russell's ranked number 2. And they have not ordered Prograis to fight his mandatory. And I don't think they've officially established a mandatory. See, with these governing bodies, sometimes a guy moves to number 1 and he's not considered the mandatory yet until he wins a final eliminator and shores it up. Well, also the WBC is probably the most lenient in terms of allowing champions to fight whoever they want in between fights. If it's a bigger fight than what the mandatory will bring, they'll allow that champion to fight multiple times against whoever he wants instead of fighting his mandatory. I like it for the most part. Sometimes I don't. But the thing with Sandor Martin is Prograis has a fight with Devin Haney. Devin Haney is a WBC champ at lightweight. He automatically moves ahead of any mandatory contender. So how that relates to Russell is I truly believe the WBC could set up a final eliminator between Martin and Russell for next year, for whenever Prograis or Haney or whoever comes out of that mess as the champion can go at it. They either that or they fight for the WBC interim belt. So I really believe that that's a possibility right there. Russell and Sandor Martin next. Then there's Subriel Matias, the IBF champion. He does have ties with the PBC. He does work with them, but he's in mandatory mode next. And I'm not sure the PBC wants to have two of their guys go at it just yet until this fight is bigger and maybe two belts on the line. So I wouldn't be surprised if it got made because they are both PBC guys. But I'm leaning towards the less likely that this fight happens, just because I really don't believe that they want to put, their two guys in the ring against each other when they're still kind of making names for themselves and aren't huge names yet. Next up is Arnold Barbosa Jr. Not likely. He's a WBO's #1 ranked contender. He's also with Top Rank and ESPN. And I don't think they pit the two sides together. Especially it's a high-risk fight for Barbosa, who's right there knocking on the door for a title shot. Even if Lopez fights what's his name next? Even if he fights Jose Ramirez next, who's the #2 contender, Arnold Barbosa Jr. is sitting there, sitting right there as the next guy, and could be lining himself up for that title shot. And they're all top-ranked guys, so they're not going to cross the street and take this kind of risk. Next is Ryan Garcia. Not likely. Garcia, this is a high-risk fight for him coming off of a loss. He wants to make his bones at 140, and he wants it to be for less risk. And I don't see Russell and Ryan Garcia coming together. Then there's Jose Zepeda. Zepeda, I guess it is possible. Zepeda is fighting Richardson Hitchens next, but that's a DAZN type fight. But I think Zepeda is kind of a promotional free agent in terms of he can fight for. He doesn't fight for any of the big three. He has his own promotions, or he fights under a different banner that works with pretty much all of them. So I guess if Zepeda beats Richardson Hitchens, which would be a big win, I guess the fight makes a lot of sense between him and, it could make sense between him and Russell. But I don't know if Zepeda is going to sign up for that. We got to wait to see. I think Russell's going to want to come back before Zepeda would be ready following a Richardson Hitchens fight. So I'm just not seeing that one being possible. And then finally, WBA champion Rolly Romero. Now, this one would be nice if it was possible right now, but it doesn't look likely because of Romero's been ordered to fight O'Hara Davies for the WBA title in a mandatory fight. I think he might have a second mandatory after that. And Gary Russell's not in that mix. And also Romero's been talking about moving up to 147 already. So I highly doubt Romero's a possibility. So in the top 10, the only fight I think is super possible is the fight with Sandor Martin in a final eliminator. If not, they're probably going to line him up against another PBC guy. But here's the thing, 140 is loaded with PBC dudes. You got Alberto Puello, the former champion. He was actually in talks with Gary Antuanne Russell for the title earlier in the year. There's Ishmael Barroso, who lost to, suffered that controversial loss to Rolly Romero. There's the guy that last year, Bakmir something, Akhmedov, I think might be his name, the guy who lost to Puello by a split decision. I know he just lost another fight. And then there's also Sergey Lipinets, who was trying to get an IBF title shot against Matias next. And he's a former champ. So Russell does have options, and I really do think the PBC needs to up his quality of opponent in his next fight and really throw him to the wolves. I would love to see him and Martin, though. Southpaw clash right there to determine a mandatory challenger in the WBC or an interim champion. So we'll see what happens. But that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on undefeated junior welterweight contender Gary Antuanne Russell, following his first round knockout victory of Kent Cruz on August 12th on Showtime. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.